Hello viewers, this is another example of a geometric series. We have started with the different types of questions around geometric series in the previous video. So if you have not seen the first video on geometric series where the sum is being asked, then please just go back one video and watch that first. It is better because there are some basics which I will not repeat in this one. Okay, for geometric series, importantly, we've got two different equations. And very important is that the equation 1 is when our ratio is greater than 1, and the other possible equation is when our ratio is less than 1. So importantly, people, you must always first identify your ratio, ensure that you're then using the correct equation. All right, in this case, I taught you to learn this equation with a rhythm. I'm just going to do the first one. We say Sn equals A, okay, then bracket r to the power of n minus 1 over r minus 1. So you say quite fast, Sn equals A. The reason why we say that fast is because it's the same in the other equation. Okay, now comes the difference that you say slowly. Brackets r to the power of n minus 1 over r minus 1. That you say fast again because it is basically the same as the top. We just don't have the exponent. All right, so when you look at the other one, you would say Sn equals A, brackets, 1 minus r to the power of n over 1 minus r. Okay, so let's look at this example. How many terms of the geometric series 5 plus 10 plus 20 and so forth must be added to give us a sum of 5,115? Okay, step number 1 is you must identify your information, right? And you will have to write down the variables from your equation. So in this case, Sn and A and R and N, right? So now we look at the sum, and the sum of 5,115 is asked. Okay, so they give you the sum of a few terms. Then A is the first term, which in this case is 5. The ratio, remember, we calculate by taking any term. I take 10, then I must divide that by the previous term. Divide by 5, which gives me 2. And I will check it with another one. 20 divide by the previous term, which is 10, which will also give me 2. All right, so importantly, always check your ratio that it is really the same. And then N, the question is how many terms. So in this case, it is the question mark. Right, that is a variable. So now in step 2, you have to choose the correct formula. And remember, you have to first determine R. R is 2, so that is greater than 1, which means we are going to use this equation. Okay, I have written it down, so you chose your correct formula. Step number 2, we're going to substitute. So now it's easy, people. You can just go from the top there. Instead of Sn, we write 5,015 equals. Instead of A, we write 5. Instead of the ratio R, we write 2. N remains the variable minus 1. Close the bracket over R, which is 2 minus 1. Okay, now remember we want to solve for n. Okay, meaning that now we are basically going to apply Gr10. Firstly, calculate your denominator. 2 minus 1, people, is 1. All right, so your denominator is basically cancelled. Then we're going to take the 5 over. Okay, remember the 5 is multiplied on this side, which means it becomes divide by 5 on that side. So if we calculate that, it gives us an answer of 1023 equals. We've taken the 5, then we've got 2 to the power of n minus 1 left over on the right hand side. We are still trying to find n, okay, which now shows that I can move the 1. It goes to the other side, it is negative, it becomes positive. So that's 1024 equals 2 to the power of n. And this one you must now recognize, people, as an exponential equation because your variable is actually in your index, okay? An exponential equation has the variable in the index, which means we have now two possible solutions. We either use it as indices or we can use it as logs. Now, since this is a simple one, I will now use indices. So firstly, I will find prime factors for 1024. And that I can do on my calculator with a factorization key. This is 2 to the power of 10. So that equals 2 to the power of n. Okay. And now if you remember the law, if we have a to the power of x equals a to the power of y, we can basically ignore our powers and let me just do it in pencil. We can say that x equals y. So therefore, in this case, we can conclude that n equals 10. All right, so once again, let's go through the steps. Firstly, you identify your information. People, these symbols you must write down from equations. Now, if they don't tell you that it is a geometric series, then it might be an arithmetic series. Then you must also write down your equations and your variables for the arithmetic sequence, okay? Or you can just simply quickly work it out, right, by either getting the common difference or the common ratio, and then you know which formula to use. Okay, then you identify your variables. In this case, it's Sn given A given R. You have calculated N. You must actually, is asked, so you must calculate the value of N. Step number 2, choose the correct formula. And there you will always start by specifically identifying your ratio. Is your ratio greater than 1 or is your ratio less than 1? That is important. You must check that out because that determines which formula you're going to use. We're going to use the one where R is greater than 1. Okay, which is Sn equals A, then bracket R to the power of n minus 1 over R minus 1. Okay. In step 2, or in fact, this is step 3, you will substitute the values, which you have identified already. Then in step 4, in this case, we're going to apply Gr10, because remember, get the variable, circle that one, people, so that you can see which other numbers you can move. All right. And we have also simplified or calculated the denominator in this case. Right. Then furthermore, step 5, we are still doing Gr10. We are taking over the 1. Right, and now importantly, you must recognize this as exponential equation, which we have just done very recently. And remember, you can solve it by either using indices or you can use logs. Okay, it makes no difference. So therefore, in the next step, sorry, I had to erase. In the next step, we have then, that is step 6, we have then factorized the 1024, and then in the last step, we apply the a to the power of x equals a to the power of y, meaning you can basically ignore this. You can make the indices the same, x equals y, and that is how we basically got our answer.